microphone on here?
Yes.
How does it come through? Pretty good the way it is?
Fine.
Fine? Okay. You ready then to start?
I just want to test the microphone. Can you hear me from this distance here? Okay,
Okay.
I'm good.
You ready now?
Well, when you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready. I'd like to call the workshop to order. This workshop is about New York Municipal Energy Program, which is a CCA to get collected electricity rates lower for the town and the government. We have a presenter from Good Energy, who is the managing partner. Javier Barrios. He's going to give the presentation, and the screen will show you what he's going to be talking about. But there'll be other things, I'm sure, along the way.
Thank you, Supervisor. I appreciate it. Yeah, my name is Javier Barrios, managing partner of Good Energy. I'm going to be talking about a very exciting program that's coming down the pike in New York State. We already have a pilot program that's running. And also our collaboration with our involvement in the state of New York, as well as our experience outside of the state of New York, which is important. So I'm going to talk a little bit about who Good Energy is. I'm going to talk a little bit about who the New York Municipal Energy Program, who is involved. I'm going to go into something called the Community Choice Aggregation Program in the state of New York, which is the brand new program that I was talking about. I'm going to talk about municipal purchasing and how we can collectively purchase for our municipal facilities, and then some of the technicalities and specifics and the processes associated with those programs. And I just want to thank everybody for attending today, as well as the viewers in the local cable for watching and participating in this new exciting program. NYMEP, what does it stand for? New York Municipal Energy Program. Essentially, it's a collaboration between three organizations, one being Good Energy, a private entity. We're a private entity based in New York City, 2 hours south of here, right in Midtown, Madison Avenue. And folks in Albany, two associations, reputable associations, the Association of Towns, which you all are a member of, or the town is a member of, and other towns that are participating, and NYCOM, New York Conference of Mayors. You can switch the slide. The NYMEP represents about, collectively, 1,500 municipalities, about 450 on the NYCOM side, New York Conference of Mayors, and about over 900 with the Association of Towns. And the Association of Towns came to us and said, we want to really develop a municipal energy buying program that creates economies of scale, so that we could leverage not just one town's, but also many towns' electrical usage or natural gas usage. So this is for both natural gas and electricity, okay? And it really is the first of its kind with these two groups. There was energy programs that both NYCOM and AOT ran, but it was a very singular program, very individual, and with pockets of groups that are there. But they really want to develop this long term. And they selected us, Good Energy, because of our experience. New York is the 7th state in the country to adopt community choice aggregation. But Good Energy has been involved for several years in other states developing community choice aggregation. And I'm going to go into it in a little bit. But there's two programs specifically that we're focusing on with New York Municipal Energy Program. The first one is one that you are all familiar with, and also incorporates a lot of what Governor Cuomo's shared services plan is, where he wants to incorporate programs that many municipalities can share and obviously create economies of scale. And that's municipal aggregation, just for your facilities. So you're taking your neighboring towns, you're aggregating your electrical load, and building up a larger aggregation. And that's what many municipalities have been doing for many years. And that's your pretty basic concept, economies of scale. People do it for in affinity groups, chambers of commerce. It's essentially creating bulk buying for municipal facilities. Same concept applies for the other offering that NIMA has, which is community choice aggregation. And community choice aggregation is trending throughout the nation. Like I said, New York is the 7th state in the country to adopt this. So there's not a lot of states that are doing it. And you usually need either state legislation or administrative ruling by a regulatory agency. And so in New York, the Public Service Commission, a couple years ago, allowed for a pilot program to happen in Westchester County. And we were one of the lead advisors to that program. And it successfully launched. And what it did is aggregated every single homeowner or residence in the Met community. And it aggregated for electricity and what we call electrical load. We'll aggregate all electrical load and went into the market and bought cheaper priced power over the existing utility. And that's the simple concept of it. Good Energy has been doing that in Illinois, in New Jersey, in Massachusetts, in California. And we brought in best practices to New York. And we're very excited because we are a New York firm, right? So we've been doing it outside, we've been traveling, we've been doing this. We've been preaching the opportunity to residents and municipal officials throughout the states. And finally, you know, the concept and the program came to New York. So now you have the ability as a municipality, and municipalities include villages, towns, and cities, not counties. So you can't do it, a county can't do it. There's no unincorporated areas in the county. Most jurisdiction is handled by the local municipality, right? The local entity. So essentially you are gathering all your residents, going out to bid, and you're selecting a company like Good Energy through a program like NIMEP to run this program for you. So to be clear, Good Energy is not an ESCO. We're not an energy supplier. We are consultants, essentially. But we have a designation in the state of New York. It's called a CCA administrator. And Good Energy's plans have been approved by the Public Service Commission. So you have to have a CCA administrator in place to do this. And I'm going to go into specifics on some later slides that we have. But those, essentially, based on this slide, these are the two programs we have. We have municipal aggregation on the facility side, right? Whether it's, you know, if you the libraries, your wastewater treatment, your water districts, whatever you have, combining it with other municipalities throughout the state or within your local utility zone. And then the more exciting brand new program, which is community choice aggregation. And that is now passing on the savings, not just to the municipal facilities, but now your residents, your constituents. And I'm going to go into the specifics of how that goes. So you can switch slides. So again, this is just, essentially the definition of what community choice aggregation is, what the concept is, which I've explained, and the specific order that was approved in the state of New York about a year and a half ago. The first program that was launched, a pilot program through New York State, was written in the Wall Street Journal, so obviously a lot of notoriety. This is a very significant new way of purchasing power for residents. You can switch. This is a little bit about who Good Energy is, which I'm going to go into as far as the things that we've done outside of the state, and one of the reasons why the Association of Towns and NICOM worked with us. But we do this, and I'm not going to go into the specifics, but we do this for over 400 municipalities nationwide. Like I said, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Illinois, California. And so we represent about 1% of the total load for the United States. So we are the largest CCA administrator in the country on the basis of electrical load. And these are some specifics that we have. You can, anybody who wants this presentation can email me. My information's on the last slide, and you can obviously have this presentation sent over to you. But these are some of our programs that we're running. Illinois, it has different names in different states. CCA is probably the standard, I think, we're seeing, but it's in Illinois it's called municipal opt-out aggregation. In New Jersey it's called government energy aggregation. In California it's community choice aggregation. Massachusetts is called municipal aggregation. So there's all these different ways to talk about and explain CCA. But here in New York, they use the acronym CCA, which stands for Community Choice Aggregation. This is our national presence. Not only do we do CCA, but we started about 18 years ago. I've been with the company as long as it's existed. And we focus primarily on the deregulated states where businesses can seek and find competitive prices. So before this CCA concept came around, we serviced many large corporations, real estate, hospitality, manufacturing. So we really have experience in commodity buying for large-scale REITs, any type of vertical market. Some of our clients are the Kellogg Corporation, Hager Clothing Company, Honey Baked Ham, some large retailers, many owner-operator Burger Kings and fast food chains. You name it, they're in our customer base. So I'm going to go a little bit into how CCA affects the residents. Obviously, there's a combination of town board folks and as well as residents, but everybody has a home here, I'm assuming. So how is this going to actually specifically affect you and your electrical bill? Now, so the way you have to think of CCA is when I move into your town, right? If I moved into your town, I would get the utility rate, right? It'd be a default provider, which would be Central Hudson. And I would just take it. I would assume that, hey, that's my default rate. I'm moving in. If I'm not searching for a competitive supplier, they're going to provide the power for me, and I'm going to be happy with it. And that's kind of business as usual, right? Well, CCA is just like that, except it's a second default rate. It's not a utility rate. It's a second default rate. So once you aggregate all your homes, and you go through the whole CCA process and you initiate the program, now everybody in your town will get automatically the CCA rate, or the town rate, right? Town of Clinton rate. And you will still have the same rights as if you were on the utility. You will still have the same customer service calls or number that you would have if you were on the utility. So, for example, if a tree limb goes down and hits a wire by your house, who are you going to call? You're going to call your utility. That continues to happen, even though you're on the money-saving CCA rate. So it doesn't change. So if you're concerned about, am I going to get new trucks, or am I going to get a new company coming in and fixing the wires or whatever? No, it's still Central Hudson. You don't have to worry about that at all. This is a financial transaction. So if you see this slide, everybody in their home has two components on their energy bill. That's delivery, which is Central Hudson service, right? Wires, they take care of the wires, they take care of the customer service, the billing. That's delivery. And then you have the supply, which is our side of the business, which is where we try to lower your bill. And that's the portion where you're going to save money. That's what's going to go down, because those are the market forces. That's the market that's handled by the independent system operator, and the generators bid into that system operator, and that's where the market forces come and the bidding happens, and that's where ESCOs get involved and banks get involved and the wholesale market gets involved, and they purchase according to a clearing price of energy daily. And on your bill, so you think the misconception is Central Hudson is generating the power and bringing it over to me. That's not true. Central Hudson is just your delivery company delivering the power from the generator, wherever that generator is, to your house. The tariff rate is based on something called the day-ahead market. And it's essentially your utility rate is just pegged to that day-ahead market that fluctuates on a 5-minute interval every single day. And then there's a clearing price at the end of the month, which then you get, and that's your weighted average for your usage. And that fluctuates every month. So be clear that you do not have a fixed rate. Your rate fluctuates, and there's a lot of factors that will influence the change of that price, whether it be weather, whether it be speculative market, whether it be the global markets, whether it be the domestic markets. So all that causes the changes. And obviously, there's issues on the grid or issues with generators or capacity and the different components. And I'm not going to go into all the specific components that are in your electricity bill, but there's not just energy, not just the electrons, but there's ancillary services, there's capacity, there's line losses, there's gross receipts tax, there's all these other components that are associated with that. But ultimately, what we're trying to do is, in that supply portion, we're trying to reduce that supply cost. Okay. Any questions here? I know I've been talking and rambling for a while, but this is very important, I think, especially for a homeowner, to understand if there's any issues with what you may have at home, whether it's a solar panel, whether you are on a special time of use rate class or meter, the way you use power, you might get a special subsidized rate or a lower rate. So to that point, CCA is not going to affect that. If you have solar panels, you're not going to be, it's not going to take away from the benefit of having a solar panel. You can still have that. You can still implement energy efficiency measures. You're just lowering your rate. So that's all you're doing. It doesn't affect it. The billing is the same. So that function continues to be the same. Let's see what the next slide is. Okay, so we've gone a little bit into the practicality of how CCA and how it influences your bills and your utility process and customer service and all that. Now this is more for the public officials who are curious to know, how do I implement a CCA in my town? So first and foremost, one of the things that we've done successfully at the Public Service Commission level is that we try to make this as efficient as possible. And what that means is that we knew from other states how difficult it was to implement at a town level and an individual town level. For example, in Illinois, you actually have to pass it either in a general or primary election. You have to put it on a ballot. You have to actually pass a referendum in the state of Illinois. And you have to wait every 6 months or so. Not the case in New York. In New York, it's through a local law, through a public hearing, and you can pass it very efficiently. And it's based on the decisions of your public officials, of your town board, your village board, or your city council. So that's one benefit of that, and I know that that's kind of the second arrow there, but going back to the CCA administrator and what you need to have. You actually have to have an implementation plan, you have to have a data protection plan, and a marketing plan. So what we did at the Public Service Commission is really push that it be almost like an umbrella plan, like a blanket plan. A generic plan that allows municipalities to just fold right underneath there. Once the generic plan was approved by the Public Service Commission, everybody can use it. So the Good Energy is the CCA administrator whose plans and enabling documents have been approved with the Public Service Commission. So that makes it easy for shared services, for example. If you wanted to go and talk to your neighboring communities to do this collectively, you can do it very efficiently. You don't have to create an implementation plan. We can augment it if you guys want to do specific things, but we can do that all on a separate addendum. So that makes it very, very efficient, very effective. So we're hoping that that's going to really get mass appeal. But ultimately, you're going to need a resolution. You're going to have to sign a CCA professional services agreement with the CCA administrator. You're going to have to pass a local law and create an outreach plan. When we have all that certified and those documents are now enabling documents, we then send that to the DPS staff and they approve it under our generic plan. Okay? After that is approved, then we're then going to go get the data, and we have to go to the utility. We're going to have to go to Central Hudson, speak with them, and then there's a data security agreement. We call it a DSA. So the data security agreement needs to be signed by the CCA administrator, municipality, as well as the ESCO that's going to be divulging the information. And the information, just so to be clear, is summary data, just to do an assessment and create an analysis for you guys to come back and say, hey, is CCA worth doing moving forward? It's only summary data, meaning I'm only going to get usage information and account numbers, number of account numbers. And we're going to see what those load factors are, how you use power in the town, and then we're going to assess it and price it out and do set up, you know, the right load curves to understand what the prices are. So that's the first set of data just to get this going. So no names, no addresses quite yet. If it makes sense for everybody to look to initiate a CCA, then a second batch of data would be names, addresses, specific load information, but no credit card information, nothing that's really going to be damaging, or you know, I can't take that information and take over the world. There's no way I can do it. You guys mostly pay via, I think, checks, or you know, I don't know if anybody's paying credit card. Does anybody pay credit card over the utility? Okay, but there's none of that information is going to go to us. Okay, you don't have to worry about it. And then with that, there is a very comprehensive data protection plan that we have to adhere to, and the Public Service Commission is obviously auditing us, making sure that that's run very, very precisely, and so we have that in place. In other states, there are no data protection plans. They just send the data and we transact. It's very simple. New York has taken a very key step in making sure data is protected in the state, so kudos to them. And then after the data is received, and then the secondary data is received with customer information, and you're going to initiate, we're going to run an RFP. We're going to go to all the ESCOs that have experience running a CCA, as well as some new ESCOs in New York, and we're going to manage that whole process. The good news is that we have the experience from other states, so it's not new to us. You guys aren't guinea pigs. We've been doing this for many years. So we're going to make sure the right stops are there, the right processes are there, and making sure that the CCA is run the way we understand it should be run. There is a mandatory, once you initiate a CCA, there's a mandatory 2-month outreach plan. So one of the key reasons why you need customer information and addresses and all that stuff is because they're going to get postcards, they're going to get letters explaining the program and the savings and all that. So you're going to have information that's going to be sent over to your home. And regarding the outreach plan and any mailings that go out, actually Good Energy pays for all that. So the municipality does not pay for any of the marketing outreach. The cost associated to initiate a CCA is very low for municipalities. Basically just attorney fees to review contracts. Yes, sir.
So if you pass a local law and opt into this, a resident can't opt out. They're automatically put into the program.
They can opt out in the first 60 days, absolutely. Yes. So you are not automatically in it unless you do not answer the opt-out letter. So I'll explain that a little bit, the process of opt-out. So, there is an outreach, and in that outreach, there is the opt-out letter, which everybody does receive. And in that opt-out letter, you're going to have 60 days to remove yourself from the program. So opt-out meaning, as opposed to a magazine subscription, right? I use the example. You get a magazine subscription, you tear out the little card, you fill it in. That's what you call an opt-in program, right? Because I've signed up to opt in, or I've opted into that program. I want to sign up. This is the opt-in. An opt-out is where you are in the program and you have a certain window to remove yourself, and that's what this is. So you ask yourself, why do we have to do it? Why is it an opt-in program? Well, an opt-in program, in most cases, some of the best marketing in the world is only about 1% subscription rate. Or, whatever it is, it's a very low, depending on what the service is or the product or whatever, it's a very low subscription rate. With opt-out, you have like a 95% subscription rate, and that is what you need to create the economies of scale. It wouldn't work if it was an opt-in program. It only works as an opt-out. And that's why it's been successful throughout the country.
What if you sold your house and you were in the plan? A new person comes in, can they opt out or
Yeah, that's a good.
separately?
Yeah, Yeah, that's a good question because I can explain it. There's two scenarios running in that statement, right, in your question. There's one where the person who's in the house moves out, so then the same general rules apply, like if you're on the utility, they just move, they can get out of the program. There's no penalties or anything. Then the new person comes in, they'll get an opt-out letter, and they could either opt into the program, or they could opt out of the program, or stay in it once they receive the letter. So the benefits to the program is that people can come in, and they can come out, and they can come back in again, and then out again. So you have tremendous flexibility with CCA. If you went on your own as an individual to sign up with an ESCO, you sign up for a year, you sign up for 2 years, there's always either an early termination penalty if you want to get out of it. And sometimes it's set, it's very high, $100, $150. You don't get anybody, or you don't get contracts with teaser rates or people knocking on the door that don't have early termination penalties. So what's great about this program is you don't have that. We negotiate all those out. And it's because we're getting a mass scale of folks, and so it's spread thin. So ESCOs are okay with people coming in and out of the program because the load is quite large.
On the generation side of this, in this program, you still have the ability to select source of energy, hydro, electric, solar, wind, or are you limited?
Yeah, so in the slides I have, we're going to talk a little bit about some of our green aspects, but I'll answer your question now. And it's a tough one to answer because you have to know the infrastructure of how renewables work, right? So we're limited, right? All around the world. In the United States, in New York, we're limited, right? So if I wanted to, Governor Cuomo has a very aggressive plan. He wants to be 50% green by 2030, right? Tall order. It's very easy to get electrons from fossil fuel-based generation. Very easy. It's very difficult to get electrons from renewable sources, wind, small hydro, solar, So CCA can be a catalyst to those projects. A catalyst for those projects to be brought in, right? You're still limited, though. You're still limited in the sense where you can't do a project where it's going to take the entire load of the town, unless there's big economic development dollars, right? Unless you have the right company. There are some plans out there for large-scale solar that could take potentially. So in that sense, a town, if they have an aggressive objective to bring in renewable, can possibly develop a very large-scale renewable project that would then take on the town's load, right?
Yeah, so for instance, I use about 1 million kilowatts a year. Okay?
For your business.
My business.
That's a good size load.
And I have an upset charge that I pay to a company to supply my utility energy costs through solar and wind. I pay a premium for that delivery. And I'm just plugging into the
regular,
right. And just essentially using the magic of the electrons going into the field and,
exactly.
and a base input in an underwriting alternative energy. So through this, do individuals maintain the right to be able to use upset and choose individually?
Right.
Or is it all aggregated through the CA, through this type of a program?
Okay, so what you're talking about is buying through a renewable energy certificate.
Correct.
So we've done that. We can go to the next slide, actually. If you go, keep going. Keep going all the way down. I'll tell you to stop. Okay, stop there. Go back. So in Illinois, we did exactly what you did for your home, because it's very difficult to bring in renewable sources, and the subsidies and the incentives were not there to go 100% green. But the towns that were in this article by WWF, actually, all those towns went 100% green, and they used it with a renewable energy certificate. Because that's the problem. You can't get the electrons. But you're right. You can pay a premium to go 100% green, or make the claim that you're 100% green, because you're feeding into an adjacent you know, local resource in Illinois or wherever, and you can make that claim. The EPA allows you to do that, and a lot of these communities were EPA green power communities. So we put that together. So if the town, for example, wanted to make everybody green for a small premium, the town could be 100% green, or could claim that they're 100% green, just like you did. My first example was if you wanted real electrons locally sourced through a renewable project, which is very difficult. You can do it. I think CCA has the ability to do it, but it's very easy to do it in your way too. If you wanted to go 100% green or 50% green or 25% green, it really depends on what the town officials would like to do and what's on their agenda.
Yeah, so let me just, this is a very important point
Yeah.
for me at the scale that I'm working. So can I, if we stay up, you know, if we don't opt out of this program, can we, as our institute, purchase either through an upset cost the choice for our generation? Or does it have to be the town that we're in has to choose that and we're locked down to whatever the town chooses?
No, you can choose whatever you'd like still. You have the flexibility to, you can choose, absolutely. It doesn't stop you from doing anything you want as far as an upcharge or a premium to buy those renewable sources for your town or your plant. What do you have actually specifically? What kind of business?
An education center.
An education center, right. So, you know, if you wanted to go 100% green, you wanted to go 100% wind, if you want to go 100% solar, there's different premiums for that. You can continue to do that and still participate in the opt-out program. I have one specific, although I have a disclaimer for you with regard to CCA. 1 million kWh might not qualify for the program because you're considered an industrial customer. And most rate classes with CCAs are based on homeowner rate classes or residential rate classes or small to medium sized businesses. Yeah. So, yeah, but what we do and what we've done in the past is we've actually created an informal aggregation. So when the town goes to bid, your contract for energy can be coterminous and be the same supplier with the town. So it's still doable. You can still partake, even though it's not the specific CCA program, we can still leverage the buying power that the town has, which is really interesting. It gets creative as far as how you buy power. So now, you can't, in some cases, in large cities or large campus-style industrial areas, you can go over to, the owner next door, Jim, and, the other owner down the road, Bob, and, you get together, you have a cup of coffee, say, hey, let's aggregate our electrical load, and let's see if we can get a better price. That's being done. We run programs like that. So in rural places, it becomes more difficult. But now you have, this essentially becomes like an industrial load because it's not just one resident now. You have many residents. So that's one concept is, can it run successfully? We actually have to do the analysis for that to see if that would work. Yeah, no problem. It's a good question. So you can go all the way back up.
Back to before.
Yeah. So
We don't do gas.
yeah, that's okay. So again, one of the important parts of this program is understanding that there is an outreach program, that people are being communicated, and you can go to the next slide. That we could use billboards. These are some of our material that we've put out there. Obviously, a website, a microsite would be developed for you guys. These are some of our websites that we created. It's all done internally. We're not using any outsourced party. We have our marketing managers and his team who put these together. Commercials, program, anything you want to do specific to the program. If you want more information, if you want less information, that's something we can put together very easily, and we've done it for hundreds and hundreds of municipalities. We talked a little bit about renewable CCA in the gentleman's question, and yes, you can either buy renewable energy through a certificate. There's also something called community distributed generation credits that are now available. It used to be net metering, where you actually can develop a local resource and, let's say like community solar, and provide CDG credits to your residents who subscribe to that program. Very exciting. So actually, it's something where you can purchase renewable energy and it would be a discount on your bill.
What did you mean by it used to be net metering?
It was called net, it replaced net metering. So net metering,
Net metering still exists for
net metering still exists, but it's now called community distributed energy credits, or community distributed energy.
But as individual homeowners, it's still net metering.
It's still net metering. It's still the function. And I could send you information how the new orders that have come out in 2018 and how that's changed. But net metering, the process, the concept still exists, and now you can get discounts for through community choice aggregation if you subscribe to a local project in your area, like community solar. You can go to the next one. Okay, we talked about this. You can go to the next one. There's some of the things we've done in Massachusetts, which is a big community choice aggregation state for us, where they bought specific local RECs from a local generator and applied it, very expensive RECs because it was local and it was in Massachusetts, and they were class 1 RECs, but they were applied to some of our communities in Arlington, Somerville, Sudbury, Winchester in Massachusetts, and then Brookline was very aggressive, bought 25% class 1 RECs, which is well over the RPS default. So RPS stands for Renewable Portfolio Standard. Everybody pays into that. It's this, a 10% or 15% or 25%, whatever the state's mandate is to buy renewable sources for everybody's load. So in Brookline was way above the RPS standard. Go next. Okay, so I know there's a lot of information. I'm gonna leave it there, and I'm gonna open it up to questions. So if anybody has any specifics on how
So the
CCA
question
works.
net metering, that doesn't change as a homeowner.
No, if you're on with net metering, if any pre-existing project or energy efficiency program,
This is purely a homeowner. So at the end of the year anniversary, you either have burned up your credits, or Central Hudson gives you a small check back based on the wholesale rate of the supplier. None of that changes.
that doesn't change.
It would, if we were in this new program, it would be the rate of which the cost of the electric is. That was
What the cost of the electric is of the new program, right? So whatever the credit is. But you get it over the entire bill, right? Not just energy supply, you get it over the delivery as well. So the credits.
No, we don't actually.
Or just the wholesale.
Just the wholesale.
You're getting, what's the program that you're in specifically? Just net meter?
I'm just in a homeowner net meter. with
Homeowner
Central
net
Hudson,
meter.
And if I happen to have leftover credits, which isn't my goal, they just give me back. I don't know.
Do you have solar?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so you have rooftop solar?
Yep.
Okay, so the rooftop solar, that would be completely different. The CDG is something where it's a community, it's combined for everybody. A
So-
project that is not associated with your home, it's a neighboring project within the zonal market, within Central Hudson.
Right, but I mean, I still have net metering.
But your net metering does not stop. Your net
Right, right,
metering
right,
continues to
that's
happen,
what I was
yes.
asking. The other thing is.
It's really more of a solar
So I
program.
can still opt in and out of the program?
Yes, yes. I mean, for you, it might not make sense.
It doesn't,
to
but there
be
could
part of the program.
There could be cases where,
Yeah.
if the rate's lower, just go with it.
Yeah, I think that, with the community choice aggregation program, if you wanted additional credits through subscribing through a CDG project, that might be the benefit to be part of the community choice.
New York State
aggregation.
doesn't do SRECs yet?
They-
On residential solar systems?
They don't do
They
SRECs.
don't do
There's no New Jersey and Massachusetts.
What's the typical kind of savings that you see going through this process over your normal electric bill? Is it 10%?
Yeah, I would,
20%?
we've
Half a
seen,
percent? I mean,
we've seen as high as, in other states, we've seen as high as 30% because of the market forces. We've seen as low as 5%. So it really depends on how you use. Central Hudson's one of the highest, costs compared to other utilities in other zones. So you guys are paying a little bit higher than average. If you go to Western New York or upstate, they're paying like in the 4s. Here you're paying more in the 6s, right? 5 and 6s and all that. So you're a little higher. There's a little bit more headroom. So we could see some, 10, 13% savings. We've done some preliminary analysis. Ultimately, the proof's in the pudding. Once we get the actual load, we can really do a more detailed analysis of what the savings would be.
And what's the possibility of other governmental units being attached and making a bigger bunch in this Dutchess County area? or
Yeah, you know, we've, I know Poughkeepsie is looking at this very aggressively. They want to roll something out. We obviously are doing sessions with the Association of Towns and NICOM. So there's been a big effort to try to get as many municipalities. It's still fairly new. People are just starting to get the concept. And I think once you see many examples in the local market, like, you know, some pioneering municipalities, then you're, and they see the benefits and the savings, then you're going to see more people jump on and really you know, move the needle as far as the number of communities that participate.
If we sign on today, just say the board says, okay, let's go. Actually, when would we see the benefit of it?
It would probably take about 4 or 5 months, you know, to really develop it and make sure we have all
So
the documents in
essentially
place.
the
And
next year.
it's probably next year. But here's what I say, and I'm going to get to you. I know you have a question. What I say is put the local law in the book so you have it ready. So when you're ready to transact and initiate, you can do it. You know, because of market forces, because it's, you know, because you see an opportunity. It doesn't. If you have the law in the books, it's not mandatory to move forward with a CCA. We're going to do the analysis. We're going to do the upfront preliminary feasibility study and all that. We're going to do all that. You're going to see what the numbers are, and then you can move forward. But until then, you don't have to do anything. Even if the numbers come back, you don't have to do anything. So it's not mandatory. You have the local law in the books, and that's all you need. Your question?
When you started, you said there was a pilot program. Was there a pilot program in this area?
No, there was no pilot program in Dutchess County, only in Westchester County, through Sustainable Westchester.
Where?
Westchester County. Sustainable Westchester is the first pilot program that was launched successfully.
The county?
It was not the county, it was a collection of about 23 communities that got together, and they call themselves Sustainable Westchester. It's just the local organizer. It's not the county itself.
So they could do that in Dutchess County then, across towns then.
Well, at this point, you know, one of the reasons that Sustainable Westchester did it is because it wasn't done, so they had to petition the Public Service Commission, so they needed an entity to petition. So it went as Sustainable Westchester, a group of communities. Now, the statewide order has been passed. You guys can do it individually now. You don't have to have a large organization to petition.
5 local towns combined as the purchasing volume.
But yeah, but I think the more the merrier, obviously. The more towns you have, the more buying power you have. And I would suggest, yes, definitely getting the neighbors involved and doing more of these meetings, doing a town hall in surrounding areas would be great. Or a webinar, yes.
Yeah, thank you for coming here. I've been pushing for CCA for several years.
Oh, okay.
And,
Great.
Ray and I, and probably some other people in the room, for a bunch of years went to a whole bunch of meetings and public forums that Citizens for Local Power,
Oh, yeah, sure.
you know, Manager Green and Jen Metzger and all those, for many years, public meetings. And I actually asked Jen what question I should ask you tonight. It was about the renewable energy thing, but I also was at the Master Temple in Poughkeepsie a few months ago, and it was a very informative presentation. I forget the guy named Jeff. It was about renewable islands, because there is another CCA that's already up and running in, I don't know, is it Fishkill, Beacon, Poughkeepsie? There is another CCA in Dutchess County already up and running. And so I guess my question to you would be a two-part question. I would like to see 1 or 2 or 3 community solar farms allowed by the town government here in Clinton. I don't know if that would be allowed, but you know, I want to go back over that. How easy would that be to plug in to CCA? And number 2, just playing devil's advocate. Well, that was a very informative presentation, but you know, Renewable Highlands is so much better than NIMEP and Good Energy because of like how are you? There's going to be an opinion in that. How is your proposal much better than what Renewable Highlands or Smart Westchester can offer us?
Right. I think one of the differentiating factors for Good Energy is our experience. You know, bringing best practices from other states and running several hundred CCAs that are active right now. So, you know, Sustainable Westchester, they've done a great job. They're public officials that are putting it together, and we were one of the lead advisors for that because we wanted to make sure that it was launched properly. So, but ultimately, it's our experience. It's, you know, it's all the nuances and the idiosyncrasies that go with managing a CCA, dealing with clerks at local towns and residents and customer support that we provide and outreach. I think that's one of our differences, not just to launch one CCA, but to really be excellent at mobilizing many, many communities all at once. And I think that's what differentiates ourselves from the competition and our experience. You know, we've been doing it years before Westchester County even was thinking about it. Years before the Citizens for Local Power were talking about it. We were already running CCAs before the public forums in New York were happening and all like that. Not to brag or anything like that, but just to say, I'm not smarter, I'm not anything, I just have the experience. So bringing that experience and the best practices to New York State is really key. To answer your first question about renewable energy is, you know, through our CCA, we've been able to offset about 1.4 million tons of carbon through our green programs. That's more than Sustainable Westchester and any of these projects in the state combined have produced. So we are a green thinking company, understand that. But we understand how important it is to let the traditional side of CCA and the economic side of CCA be launched properly. Because without a successful CCA program, just to simply save people money on their electric bills or their natural gas, it then cannot be a catalyst to all these other renewable projects. Those would be left to the wayside. So what we know from experience is really understanding how to run a CCA properly, first and foremost. CCA meaning it doesn't have to be green, but then implement green afterwards, right? So I hope that answers your question. That's it.
So residents of the town, if they sign on to a community solar, can still take part in the program?
Yeah, well, the community solar can be involved in the CCA. So they have the new CDG. The CDG can be part. If you build a community solar project, you can get CDG credits associated with that.
And there's nothing
CCA.
in any contracts that's how the town would sign that would prevent us from leasing land to a community solar.
No, not at all.
All right.
Not at all. You know, it would be a discussion point to say how can the solar farm or the solar project benefit through a CCA and vice versa. It would completely give you the flexibility to do that, and maybe even enhance that solar project. That you then the town can become an off-taker to that solar project. That should be exciting.
Now, when you give us the information and saying, here's the price, stuff like that, that is a fixed price for how long?
It's a fixed price. Normally, it's around 24 to 36 months. We can go longer. We go 48 months. We can go 12 months. I think 12 months is a little short because you have to do the process all over again. So usually, from all the CCAs that we're running right now, it's about 24 to 36 months on average.
Then you go through the process again.
Then you
Not
go
a
through
new
the process.
law or anything, but just going out
Process-
rebid and all that
Rebidding and then sending the opt-out letters again for the new rates, and then people decide whether they want to stay on it or not.
How do you guys get paid?
We get paid through a fee by the ESCO. So the ESCO pays us. You don't pay us at all.
So it's a fee, not a percent, kind of percent?
No, it's a fee per kilowatt hour.
Okay, and the town has no obligation to anything? Even for the analysis work?
Nope. No, just like I said before, some attorney's fees if you want to review the agreement. So we have the corporate counsel and the town council.
Now, how does the FERC tax or the congested tax
Congestion?
at 4%, 6%? And then there's going to be a tax for the decommissioning of
Yeah, that's all.
Westchester and all of that kind
Yeah,
of
that's
stuff.
all in
Or
your
that
either your delivery.
Outside of our stuff,
Yeah,
that's
that's-
in the delivery bill.
Yeah, that's either in your delivery bill or it's a regulatory charge that everybody pays
So
socially.
it's normally associated with the amount of electricity you use.
Yeah,
It's like 6%.
percent. Yeah, whatever that percent is, you're going to continue to pay that. You cannot get out of that.
So let's say you have 5,000 residents signed in, or they opt in, and in 9 months, 4,000 opt out. What's that do to the contract?
That would be a serious issue, but that has never happened in any of our aggregations. It just does not happen.
What would happen?
The supplier would take on the risk and would have to service that load.
So there's no penalties or anything?
No penalty. It's a hypothetical that really is probably
I
never
just
going to
want to
happen.
know where the liability is from.
Never going to happen. Yeah.
So there's no guaranteed minimum.
No.
That's why they opt everyone in the beginning. Because we're lazy to opt out. Well, some people are.
Any other
We'll
questions?
see all those numbers anyway before.
Yeah, of course.
As long as it's cheaper, they don't. Anybody else have any further questions? Interesting. Consultants got the business.
At the August town board meeting, the town board will further discuss it. I don't expect a resolution or anything at that point to figure out what sense of direction we'll go. And if we get a positive feedback, probably then in September, we may say, okay, we'll do a resolution or whatever to say, go for it and start the local law and all the other paperwork. And then probably in December or January, get information back to say sign up or not sign up. So, I mean, that's just my intuitive activity. So this is not a tomorrow make a decision kind of thing, you know, like a horse race. It's starting tomorrow and you only got 2 minutes before they're at the end, you know. Yes, no, Joe.
Is there any chance that the town board, maybe in a month or two or three, could consider, when that resolution is passed, for that resolution to set an RFP? So it's not just, here's the town going with this company, with this firm, but the town is issuing a formal request for proposals. Because I would like to, don't kill me, but I would like to see other entities that do this, you know, make presentations in this town hall. I'm just saying.
There are others that I've talked to. Some of them have gone out of business over the last year or two that offered sort of similar things. And I never really made a big deal because by the time I got information from them, they stopped supplying me stuff, so I didn't even go forward. There's others I've talked to that, like Viridian, you probably heard of Viridian about 5 years ago. I don't know what they're doing anymore, if they even exist, but that was a homeowner type of thing. They could also do governmental stuff, but that was on an individual basis. It was not a community basis like he's talking about. And Viridian I know is a name, but I haven't checked it. I know the people that were involved originally, but several of those have come up and gone away, so I don't know offhand of someone.
How big is their organization, Good Energy?
We're about 50-person organization in Utah. We have offices in Dallas and New Jersey, Boston, satellite offices. We're a consulting firm. We're not an energy supplier.
Yeah. He's essentially like your insurance broker, except he doesn't sell insurance, he sells electric rates, right?
I guess I'm a little bit more than an insurance broker. But transactionally, maybe that would be
It's a
correct.
very simple way of analyzing it. Okay, well, hey, I thank you all for coming. I hope you all learned. Stay tuned for more as we move ahead. And that's it, Jerry. You can wrap it up.